Welcome back to Introduction to iOS Application Development at SSFS. Finally, we're at our last video in the SpaceAdventure project series, and we have one last thing to do. We have this to-do up here that says Reduce Repetitive Code. And you notice that we've got a lot of appends here, individual lines, so we're going to try to clean this up just a little bit, and then we'll be done. So if you notice that every time we are creating a planet, it contains a name and a description. And there's actually a better collection device to hold this information. It's called a dictionary. If I want to look at what a dictionary is, I can open up my help and documentation, type in dictionary, and I can get information about what a dictionary does. Okay, so again, this help file can be very, very useful. So we're going to create a dictionary that's going to hold all of our information. So what I'm going to do is, instead of having all these let statements, I'm going to create one let statement. And I'm going to let planet data equal, and then I'm going to start it off with a square bracket, almost like we would use in an array. But in this case, I'm going to use what are called key value pairs. And in a dictionary, every item in a dictionary has two pieces, a key and a value. So in the case of our planets, the key will be the name, and the value separated by a colon is the description of it. So the key is the planet's name, the value is the description. So I'm going to go ahead and quickly type in the rest of this. So there we go. I've created a dictionary consisting of key value pairs of planet name and the description. So now I don't need all of this, because I'm going to find another way to populate my array of planets. Let's go ahead and right under here, let's go ahead and add the planets to the array. We're going to use a for loop again to do this. Remember before we saw the for in syntax? You can do kind of the same thing with dictionaries to kind of iterate over every element in a dictionary. But since we're iterating over two things, it's going to be the name and the description. And again, these aren't special keywords. I'm just choosing to use these variables to represent the name of the planet and the description. I could have used something else if I wanted, but these seem to be most descriptive. So for the name and the description, the key and the value in planet data. I'm going to take my planet array that I created here, and I'm going to append a planet, and the name will be name, and the description will be the description. So notice I drastically reduced the amount of code by iterating over my planet data dictionary and appending the name and the description that I get through my for loop. Let's go ahead and run this, see what it looks like. Make sure the functionality is still the same. And should I choose, let's choose yes for a random planet and traveling to Venus. So it appears that everything still works. So this looks pretty good, but there's actually a way, rather than iterating over it, stop. So by using the for loop, the for in loop, it very quickly goes through each element in the planet data and creates a new planet. There's actually a way to do it even faster, because if you notice, I'm starting with a dictionary and ending with an array of planet objects. I'm going to use a function called map. So I'm actually going to delete all this code. I'm going to delete my array initialization as well. And I'm going to say let planets, which is my array name, equal planet data dot map. And again, what map is going to do is it's going to transform the set of data in the dictionary to an array. So the way I do that is I put my curly braces. I'm going to put the name and the description in planet name description description. Stop. And then I'll finish it off with a curly brace. So what this function does is it creates a constant called planets, and then it calls the function map on this planet data dictionary. And the syntax looks the same. That I'm going to, for the name and the description, I'm going to map those to a new planet array. Stop. Let's look at this line in a little more depth. I'm taking a stop. Remember my earlier code, I started with a dictionary and ended up with an array of planets. Well, this does the same thing. It takes the data from the dictionary and uses the map function to implicitly create an array of type planet. And it goes through each name and description and creates a planet object, and the outcome of the map function is to create an array. So in one line of code or 3 lines of code, I've eliminated the need to create, stop. So in just a couple of lines of code, I've removed the need to define an empty array and then iterate over each object in the planet data to add it to the array. Stop. So if you remember in the earlier code, I created an array, a blank array, and then I iterated over the dictionary data and created a new planet object and appended it to the array. This does all that in just a couple of lines of code. I don't have to define an array anymore. The outcome of map is an array, and it just maps the name and the description in this data, creating a new planet object and automatically adding it to the array. But just to double check, let's check the functionality. I'm going to run it. I will get back to the console, my name, we'll put no, and I'll type Saturn. And everything seems to work great. So this has been a long series, but hopefully you have a much better idea of the Swift language, and not just the language itself and the syntax, but how to organize a project into separate files and understand that Xcode, when you run it, compiles all these files in a project into one file and they all run smoothly together. And we've taken data and put it into the best possible place. So now our classes each do one thing. Space Adventure does a space adventure, planetary system creates a planetary system, and our data is not hidden in one of these classes. It's the main.swift class that defines it and gets everything running. So in the next set of videos, we'll start taking a closer look at creating, stop. So in the next video, we'll go back to creating apps in the iOS simulator and looking at different frameworks of Swift.